Good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about supper, song, and praise. Now, many of you already know exactly what supper, song, and praise is. So instead of describing that, what we're going to do is celebrate it. Supper, song, and praise is something I started in Jessup, Georgia about 20 years ago because I was the rector of an Episcopal church in a little town in the South. And what I figured out very quickly is that the Baptist and the Church of God and the Church of Christ people all got together every Sunday and Wednesday. It was kind of in the air and in the water. I saw, well, we Episcopalians can get together Wednesday too. And what had always been the case for the first 100 years at the Episcopal Church there was they would do a little healing service or a Eucharist, one or the other or both, on Wednesdays, and typically 3 to 5 to 7 people would come. And what we decided instead to do, actually what I decided instead to do is let's have dinner and a service that is not Eucharistic and just something short, sweet, and wonderful. And the service had singing, Bible, a message, and a time to pray. And it always did it in a half an hour or less. And so I saw that as like a really efficient way to get a whole lot of God without a huge time investment, because realistically, a lot of Episcopalians are really busy people. So we had to acknowledge that too. Even little old Jessup, Georgia, time mattered to a lot of people. We had to give them a lot. So also, dinner was included because some people could just come straight from the office, eat dinner, have the service, and get a whole lot there again in an hour, hour and a quarter. Because we're Episcopalians, beer and wine were always included. A fun time was had by all, always. We noticed that this worked and worked big. And what happened, which was not planned, but the primary driver, the greatest blessing of God in all of it, turned out to be the variety we had in the speaker. I started the first couple, but then I thought, let's just anybody. You don't have to be ordained to testify, to give testimony, to share your story of God, to witness, choose your favorite Christian verb, testify, witness, share, give a message, give a homily, all the same thing. And in Jessup, Georgia, St. Petersburg, Florida, and here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, the same thing has happened every time with Supper, Song, and Praise. It's the guest speakers who are the driver, the blessing from God. Just in Las Vegas, in the last year, we've had speaker after speaker after speaker telling their truth, always interesting and incredibly different from one person to the next. And that's something that people who are regular Supper, Song, and Praise attendees and now online expect and frankly get every week. You get a lot for a little. Let me talk about just a couple of the speakers. In the last couple of months, for instance, one message that Gina Kissel brought, Father Rick and I both commented like, wow, that might be the most perfectly structured 9-minute talk we've ever heard in our life. And we've both heard the presiding bishop. We've heard presiding bishops speak a number of times. And Gina Kissel kind of made me wish all preachers were also engineers. She just had this beautiful, touching, human, perfectly structured story. And it was just one supper, song, and praise. Thank you, God. Thank you, Gina. Here's another one. Father Vince encouraged me in a roundabout way to ask Mickey Bonacci to speak, and she did. And she told a story, not a dry eye in the house, where her young son was murdered. And 5 years later, the person who murdered her son was also murdered. But instead of feeling any vengeance, all she felt was compassion and concern for her son's murderer's mother, because she thought, I know what it's like to lose a son. Now, you will not be surprised to know that that Supper, Song, and Praise has had more viewers online than any other Supper, Song, and Praise or any Sunday service here at the Epiphany Church. Talk about going viral. That message of compassion, generosity, people know that that kind of maturity, faith, and forgiveness doesn't come from a human being alone. And Mickey Bonacci witnessed to this forgiveness that came from God. Priceless. A priceless Wednesday in the spiritual life of the world and the Epiphany Church. Thank you. Today is Wednesday. Tonight at about 10 after 7, online, and there'll be about 6 or 7 of us here too, because we're doing the service virtually. Mark Lenker, who's a member of the board here at the church, a very thoughtful, caring, loving, wise soul, will be bringing the message to us. So we have that to look forward to tonight and every Wednesday. Now, what do I want for you? I do have an agenda here. I would like everybody who hears this to keep supper song and praise in their prayers, in their consciousness, in their lives of faith, living in confident expectation that supper song and praise can feed and nourish you in body, mind, and spirit, and that you deserve that nurture. You deserve that nourishment, and that you can expect it and you will receive it every Wednesday night here at the parish. And before too long, we're going to be like we were a year and a half ago. We're going to be celebrating here, and I want everybody's ideas. This belongs to us. This belongs to God and the world, and we want to maximize it. We want this to be like the book of Acts, Epiphany style. So if you have an idea about something for the service or a speaker for the service, including yourself, share it. One thing I was thinking, we might have a little more intentionality about the wine we drink. Maybe one Wednesday a month, have a bit of a wine tasting as part of the pre-service thing we do. And we get 2 or 3 different bottles of wine, and those of you who are real connoisseurs can make that part of your Wednesday night too. Any idea you might have from God, share it, and it could be a blessing for us. You can start planning ahead. What's your favorite dish that you're going to bring when we reopen the doors? And pray about that too, that sometime after Easter, when Supper Song and Praise goes back to being an in-person gathering, and the 40 or 50 of us show up again, that we also do the hybrid church, that we still continue to broadcast the service in a way that maximizes its spiritual nurture to those present and those who are just joining us virtually. One of whom just contacted me 2 days ago from County Cork, Ireland, a Supper Song and Praise person, who invited me to be a virtual speaker at their service in Ireland, which is basically an exact replica of our Supper Song and Praise here, which they began during COVID to keep their very active and loving parish engaged during all the quarantine. You see how the blessing just keeps unfolding? So, again, we're thanking God for Supper Song and Praise, and I'm thanking God for you and for all your involvement and making this ministry so absolutely wonderful. All right, that's what I've got. See you tonight at 7 o'clock on this very same channel to hear Mark Lenker and to give God the glory. All right, I love you.